Commander Jake Martinez floated in the captain's chair of the Phoenix Dawn, watching the stars through the main viewing window. His coffee cup drifted beside him in the zero gravity of deep space. The ship had been flying for 3 months now, mapping empty sectors of space that nobody had ever bothered to visit before. "Jake, you need to see this," called Lucy Chun from the pilot's seat. Her voice carried that tone that meant something unusual was happening. Jake pushed off from his chair and drifted over to look at her screen. "What am I looking at?" he asked. Lucy pointed to a cluster of bright dots on her scanner. "Energy readings, big ones. There's something massive about 2 light years ahead of us." Jake studied the display. The readings were unlike anything he had seen before. The energy signatures were too organized to be natural, too powerful to be from any human technology. "Could be a new type of star," he said, but even as he spoke, he knew that wasn't right. "Danny, what do you think?" Jake called to the engineer. Danny. Rodriguez pushed himself over from the engine controls, wiping grease from his hands. "Those readings don't match any star patterns I know. The energy is too focused, too controlled. It's like someone built something huge out there." Jake felt his heart speed up. In all of humanity's travels into space, they had never found any sign of alien life. Scientists had always wondered if Earth was alone in the universe. Now they might have their answer. "Kevin, send a message back to Earth," Jake ordered. "Tell them we found something interesting and we're going to investigate." Kevin Walsh, the communications officer, nodded and began typing on his console. "Message sent, Commander. Should reach Earth in about 6 hours." Jake looked around at his crew. 12 people from different parts of America, all volunteers who had signed up for a boring mapping mission. Now they might be the first humans to discover alien life. "Lucy, set course for those energy readings. Danny, make sure our engines are running at full power. Everyone else, prepare for anything." The Phoenix Dawn turned toward the mysterious signals and began to accelerate. Jake had no idea that he was about to crash the most exclusive party in the galaxy. 2 days later, the Phoenix Dawn dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the source of the energy readings. What they found took their breath away. A massive space station hung in the void, easily 100 times larger than anything humans had ever built. The station was shaped like a giant flower, with dozens of curved sections spreading out from a central hub. Lights flickered along its surface, in patterns that seemed almost like writing. "My God," whispered Lucy. "It's beautiful." "And big," added Danny. "That thing could hold millions of people." Jake stared at the station through the main window. Other ships moved around it, ships that looked nothing like human designs. Some were long and thin like needles. Others were round like bubbles. A few seemed to be made of crystal that bent light in strange ways. "We're not alone," Jake said quietly. "We're definitely not alone." Inside the space station, alarms were ringing. The Galactic Council had been meeting in their great assembly hall when their sensors detected the human ship. For 3,000 years, no unknown vessel had ever appeared in their space. President Zaraketh of the Centauri delegation stood up from her floating chair. Her blue skin glowed with concern as she looked at the main display showing the strange new ship. "What is that vessel?" she asked. "It does not match any known design in our databases." Dr. Vel Noth, the Council's chief scientist, studied the readings with his 4 eyes. "The ship appears to be using some form of nuclear fusion drive combined with quantum field manipulation. But the design is crude, inefficient. It should not be able to achieve faster-than-light travel. Yet here it is," said General Exvoar of the Dracorian military. His reptilian face showed no emotion, but his claws extended slightly from his fingers. "This could be a threat to Council security." President Zaraketh raised her hand for silence. "Have they attempted to communicate?" "Yes," replied the communications officer. "They have been sending the same message repeatedly on multiple frequencies." "What does it say?" The officer looked confused. "It says, 'Hello, we're from Earth. We didn't know anyone else was out here.'" The great assembly hall fell silent. 47 different species, representing billions of beings across the galaxy, All stared at the display in shock. "Earth?" asked Ambassador Kelyan from the Altarian delegation. "There's no planet called Earth in our databases." Dr. Velnoth's computers worked frantically. "Earth appears to be a small planet in a system they call the Milky Way, approximately 25,000 light-years from here. Our long-range sensors show it as a primitive world with no advanced technology." "Then how did they get here?" demanded General Vexvoar. "That is what concerns me," said Dr. Velnoth. "According to our scans, their ship is held together with what appears to be welded metal plates and powered by a fusion reactor that should have exploded the moment they turned it on. Yet somehow it works." On the Phoenix Dawn, Jake and his crew were trying to figure out how to communicate with the aliens. Kevin had been broadcasting their message for hours but received no response. "Maybe they don't understand English," suggested Lucy. "Or maybe they're deciding whether to blow us up," said Danny. Jake considered their options. The alien station was clearly more advanced than anything humans had built. The ships moving around it could probably destroy the Phoenix Dawn without even trying, but they had come too far to turn back now. "Kevin, send another message," Jake ordered. "Tell them we come in peace and we just want to talk." "Already tried that, Commander. Still no response." Jake made a decision that would change the course of human history. "Lucy, take us closer to the station. Slow and steady. Danny, keep the engines ready in case we need to run." The Phoenix Dawn moved toward the alien station like a tiny fish approaching a whale. Jake could see more details now. The station's surface was covered with symbols that might be writing. Docking bays opened and closed as alien ships came and went. Gardens with strange plants grew in transparent domes. "This is incredible," breathed Lucy. "They've built a whole city in space." Inside the station, the Galactic Council was in chaos. Some members wanted to establish contact immediately. Others demanded that the unknown ship be destroyed before it could pose a threat. The debate raged for hours while the Phoenix Dawn slowly approached. Finally, President Zaraketh called for order. "We must follow established protocols. Ambassador Kelyan, you will make contact with this vessel and determine their intentions." General Vexvoar stood up, his massive form casting a shadow over the assembly. "And if their intentions are hostile, then we will deal with them accordingly," said President Zaraketh. "But we are a civilized organization. We do not attack without cause." The general's eyes glowed red, but he sat down without further comment. Ambassador Kelyan prepared for the most unusual diplomatic mission of his long career. He had welcomed dozens of species into galactic society, but always after years of careful study and preparation. This was different. These humans had simply appeared without warning, with technology that shouldn't work and a message that showed they had no idea what they had stumbled into. As he prepared to meet with the humans, Ambassador Kelyan wondered if the Galactic Council was about to make its first major mistake in 3,000 years. The humans seemed peaceful enough, but there was something about their crude, impossible technology that made him nervous. That he had no way of knowing that humans had a talent for making the impossible work through sheer determination and creative problem-solving. The Galactic Council was about to learn that lesson the hard way. Ambassador Kelyan stood in the launch bay of the Great Space Station, watching his diplomatic escort prepare for departure. 12 sleek ships surrounded his vessel, each one armed with weapons that could destroy a small moon. The ambassador hoped he would not need to use them. His ship was a thing of beauty, built from living crystal that shifted colors as it moved. The hull could repair itself if damaged, and the engines ran on pure thought energy. It was the product of 3,000 years of galactic cooperation and advancement. The human ship they were approaching looked like it had been built in someone's garage. "Are you certain their vessel is safe to approach?" asked Captain Voarkel, the military escort commander. Ambassador Kelyan studied the readings on his screen. The human ship was leaking radiation from at least 6 different sources. Its hull showed signs of repeated repairs using what appeared to be metal tape. The engines were producing energy signatures that made his scientists physically ill to contemplate. According to our scans, that ship should have exploded the moment they turned on their engines, the ambassador replied. Yet here it is, functioning perfectly. These humans may be more dangerous than we thought. On the Phoenix Dawn, Jake Martinez was having his own concerns. The alien ships approaching them were clearly more advanced than anything humans had ever imagined. Their hulls seemed to be made of some kind of crystal that shifted colors like oil on water. They moved without any visible engines, gliding through space like fish through water. 12 ships, reported Lucy Chun from the pilot's seat, all armed by the look of them. Danny Rodriguez looked up from his engineering console. Their weapons are giving off some kind of energy field. I can't figure out what type, but it's powerful. Jake felt sweat gathering on his forehead. The Phoenix Dawn had been built for exploration, not fighting. Their only weapons were 2 small laser cannons that were meant for clearing space debris. Against ships like these, they might as well be throwing rocks. Kevin, are they trying to communicate? Jake asked. The communications officer nodded. Getting something now? It's in English, but the voice sounds strange, like it's being translated by a computer. Put it through. A calm, melodious voice filled the bridge. Human vessel, this is Ambassador Kellyan of the Galactic Council. We request permission to come aboard your ship for diplomatic discussions. Jake looked around at his crew. They all looked as nervous as he felt. This was the moment they had all been waiting for since leaving Earth. First contact with an alien species. This is Commander Jake Martinez of the Phoenix Dawn, he replied. You are welcome aboard our ship, Ambassador. 2 hours later, Ambassador Kellyan materialized in the Phoenix Dawn's main cargo bay. The transportation technology was beyond anything humans had seen. One moment the bay was empty, the next moment the alien ambassador was standing there. As if he had always been present. Jake studied the alien carefully. Kellyan was tall and thin, with pale blue skin that seemed to glow from within. His eyes were large and dark, and his movements were graceful like a dancer. He wore robes that seemed to be made of liquid starlight. Welcome aboard the Phoenix Dawn, Jake said, extending his hand. I'm Commander Martinez. The ambassador looked at Jake's outstretched hand with curiosity, then reached out and shook it. His skin was warm and smooth like polished stone. An interesting greeting custom, Kellyan said. I am Ambassador Kellyan of the Altarian delegation to the Galactic Council. I have come to speak with you about your species' future. Jake led the ambassador to the ship's small conference room. The rest of his crew gathered around the table, all trying not to stare at their alien visitor. First, I must ask, said Kellyan, how did you develop faster-than-light travel? Our scientists have studied your vessel and cannot understand how it functions. Danny Rodriguez spoke up. We use a fusion reactor to power quantum field generators. The fields create a bubble around the ship that lets us move faster than light. The ambassador looked confused, but that should be impossible. The energy requirements alone would destroy your ship. Yeah, we had some problems with that at first, Danny admitted. Blew up 3 test ships before we figured out how to make it work. Turns out you just need to run the fields in reverse every few hours to keep the reactor from overloading. Kellyan stared at the human engineer. You reverse the quantum fields? But that violates the fundamental laws of physics. Maybe your physics, said Danny with a grin. Ours work just fine. The ambassador was quiet for a long moment. Then he began to speak in a more formal tone. Commander Martinez, I have been sent by the Galactic Council to inform you of certain facts. For 3,000 years, our council has governed 47 civilized species across this galaxy. We maintain peace through careful diplomacy and shared knowledge. Jake nodded. Sounds like a good system. Indeed, however, your species was never invited to join this council. You were never evaluated or prepared for contact with galactic civilization. Your appearance here is completely unexpected. Sorry about that, Jake said. We didn't know you existed, we were just exploring. That is precisely the problem, Kellyan continued. Every species that has joined the council has done so through proper channels. They were studied for decades before first contact. They were guided and educated before being granted advanced technology. This ensures that only peaceful, stable species become part of our civilization. Lucy Chun leaned forward. Are you saying we're not peaceful? I'm saying we do not know what you are, the ambassador replied. Your technology suggests a species that ignores established scientific principles. Your rapid development suggests a species that does not wait for permission or guidance. This makes you unpredictable. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. What are you getting at, Ambassador? Kellyan stood up and walked to the small window that looked out at the alien space station. The Galactic Council has debated your species for 3 days. Some members, like my own people, believe you should be welcomed and educated. Others are not so sure, and what do the others think? Jake asked, though he was afraid he already knew the answer. General Vexidor of the Dracorian military believes your species represents a threat to galactic peace. His argument is that any species chaotic enough to violate the laws of physics might be chaotic enough to violate the laws of civilization as well. The conference room fell silent. Jake could hear the hum of the ship's engines and the quiet breathing of his crew. The council has reached a decision, Kellyan continued. Your species will be given one opportunity to prove that you can integrate peacefully into galactic society. You have 30 days to demonstrate that humanity deserves a place among the civilized races. And if we fail this test? Jake asked. The ambassador turned back to face the humans. His expression was sad but determined. Then the Dracorian fleet will ensure that humanity never leaves its home system again. Jake felt his blood turn to ice. You're threatening to destroy Earth? I am delivering the terms of your probationary membership, Kellyan replied. The choice of how to respond is yours. Danny Rodriguez slammed his hand on the table. You can't just show up and threaten to blow up our planet because we didn't ask permission to explore space. I understand your anger, said the ambassador. But you must understand our position. In 3,000 years, we have never had a species simply appear without warning. We have protocols, procedures, systems in place to prevent conflicts and misunderstandings. Your species has ignored all of these. Because we didn't know they existed, Lucy Chun shouted. Which is exactly why you are dangerous, Kellyan replied calmly. A species that can develop faster than light travel without guidance, that can violate physical laws without understanding the consequences, that can appear anywhere in the galaxy without warning. Such a species could destabilize everything we have built. Jake stood up slowly. His mind was racing, trying to process what he was hearing. Earth had 30 days to prove itself worthy of joining galactic civilization or face destruction by an alien military force that could probably turn the planet into space dust without breaking a sweat. What exactly do we need to do to pass this test? He asked. That will be determined by a council evaluation committee, Kellyan said. They will observe your species' response to this situation and judge whether humanity can be trusted with membership in galactic society. And you'll be watching everything we do? Everything, the ambassador confirmed. The committee will monitor your planet's communications, your government's decisions, your people's reactions. They will evaluate your technology, your culture, your capacity for peaceful cooperation. Jake looked around at his crew. They all looked as shocked as he felt. They had come out here looking for new worlds to explore. Instead, they had found a galactic civilization that saw humanity as a potential threat to be eliminated. I need to contact Earth immediately, Jake said. My government needs to know about this. Of course, Kellyan agreed. I will return to the council station to await your planet's response. Commander Martinez, I hope your species will make the right choice. The ambassador walked to the center of the cargo bay and activated his transportation device. A column of light surrounded him, and he vanished as suddenly as he had appeared. President Amy Washington sat at her desk in the Oval Office, reading the emergency message from the Phoenix Dawn for the 3rd time. The coffee in her cup had gone cold hours ago, but she barely noticed. The fate of humanity was sitting in a single printed report on her desk. Are you sure this is real? she asked General Pete Adams, who stood at attention beside her chair. The message came through official NASA channels, the general replied. Commander Martinez used all the proper codes. Either this is real or someone has managed to fake first. Contact with aliens. The president looked across the room at NASA Administrator Lisa Johnson, who was studying photographs of the alien space station on her tablet. Lisa, what do you think? The energy readings are unlike anything we've ever seen, Lisa said. The space station appears to be the size of a small city. The technology required to build something like that is centuries beyond anything we have. Secretary of Defense Tony Martinez walked into the room carrying a thick folder. I've been talking to our best scientists. They all agree that the alien technology Commander Martinez described is theoretically possible, but we have no idea how to build it. President Washington stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the morning sun was shining on the White House lawn. Children were playing in a nearby park. None of them knew that their entire world might be destroyed in 30 days. So let me understand this correctly, she said. We have 30 days to prove that humanity deserves to join a galactic civilization that we didn't even know existed. If we fail, they'll destroy Earth. That's the situation, General Adams confirmed. The president turned back to her advisors. What do they expect us to do? How do we prove we're worthy of joining their club? The ambassador didn't give specific requirements, Lisa Johnson said. He just said they would be watching everything we do and judging our response. Then we need to give them something to watch, President Washington decided. Tony, I want you to contact every space agency in the world. Tell them we're putting together the largest space program in human history. We have 30 days to show these aliens what humanity can do. What's our budget? The Secretary of Defense asked. Whatever it takes, the president replied. I'll declare a national emergency if I have to. This is more important than any war we've ever fought. Within 6 hours, the most powerful people in America were gathered in the White House Situation Room. Scientists, military leaders, business executives, and politicians all crowded around the long table. President Washington had called an emergency meeting that would determine humanity's future. Ladies and gentlemen, she began, we face a situation unlike anything in human history. We have been given 30 days to prove that humanity deserves to survive. I want ideas, and I want them now. Dr. Carl Foster, a physicist from MIT, raised his hand. Madam President, we need to understand what they're looking for. Are they judging our technology? Our morality? Our ability to cooperate? All of the above, probably, replied CIA Director Mark Wilson. These aliens have been watching 47 different species for 3,000 years. They know what they're looking for in a civilized race. Then we need to show them that we're already civilized, said General Adams. We need to demonstrate that humans can work together, solve problems, and contribute to galactic society. How do we do that in 30 days? Asked Lisa Johnson. President Washington looked around the room at the assembled experts. We do what Americans have always done when faced with an impossible challenge. We ignore the fact that it's impossible and do it anyway. She pointed to a map of the world on the wall. I want every major nation on Earth involved in this project. I want the International Space Station expanded. I want new ships built. I want every scientist, engineer, and inventor on the planet working on this. The logistics alone would be staggering, said Secretary of State Jennifer Clark. We're talking about coordinating the efforts of dozens of countries. Then we better get started, President Washington replied. Jennifer, I want you to call an emergency session of the United Nations. Tony, get me the heads of every major corporation that has anything to do with space technology. Lisa, contact every university that has a physics or engineering program. What? About the public? Asked Press Secretary David Chun. We can't keep this secret forever, the president considered this. We tell them the truth. Humanity has made contact with alien life, and we need to work together to secure our place in the galaxy. No mention of the 30-day deadline or the threats. We present this as an opportunity, not a crisis. The world will panic, General Adams warned. The world will rise to the challenge, President Washington countered. Americans put a man on the moon in less than a decade when we set our minds to it. Now we need to do something even bigger. Meanwhile, back in space, Commander Jake Martinez was having his own problems. The alien ships were still surrounding the Phoenix Dawn, and his crew was getting nervous. How long are they going to keep us here? Asked Lucy Chun. Until Earth responds to their ultimatum, Jake replied. We're their way of monitoring human communications? Danny Rodriguez looked up from his engineering console. I've been studying their ships. The technology is incredible, but it's also conservative. Everything is built to last for thousands of years. Our stuff might look crude, but it's flexible. Adaptable. What do you mean? Jake asked. Their ships are perfect for what they were designed to do. But if they needed to do something different, they'd have to build entirely new ships. We could modify the Phoenix Dawn to do almost anything. With the right parts and some creative engineering. Jake thought about this. Danny, how long would it take you to upgrade our engines? What kind of upgrades are you thinking about? The kind that would impress a galactic civilization? Danny grinned. Give me some raw materials in a week and I'll build you an engine that'll make their scientists cry. Where are we going to get raw materials out here? There's an asteroid field about 2 light years from here. Plenty of metal, rare elements, everything we need. Jake made a decision. Lucy, plot a course for that asteroid field. Kevin, send a message to Earth. Tell them we're going to start showing these aliens what human engineering can really do. Back on Earth, the response was immediate and overwhelming. President Washington's call to action had been heard around the world. Within 24 hours, every major space agency had committed to the project. Private companies were volunteering resources. Universities were offering their best students. The European Space Agency announced they were fast-tracking their new propulsion system. The Japanese were sharing their latest robotics technology. The Russians were opening their previously secret space facilities too. International cooperation. But the most impressive response came from American private industry. SpaceX announced they were building 3 new spacecraft in the next month. Boeing committed to producing advanced life support systems. Microsoft and Google offered to create new artificial intelligence systems to help coordinate the global effort. This is incredible, Lisa Johnson told President Washington during their daily briefing. We're seeing cooperation between countries and companies that have been competitors for decades. It's amazing what humans can accomplish when they work. Together, the president replied. How are the ship designs coming along? Better than expected. Our engineers are combining technologies in ways that shouldn't be possible. They're ignoring conventional design principles and creating something entirely new. Sounds familiar, President Washington said with a smile. The aliens complain that our technology violates the laws of physics. Maybe that's exactly what we need to show them. Dr. Carl Foster had been working around the clock with teams of scientists from around the world. Their assignment was to create something that would demonstrate human ingenuity and potential. What they came up with was ambitious beyond anything humans had ever attempted. We call it the Harmony Project, he explained to the president. It's a space station that combines American engineering with international cooperation. But it's not just a station. It's a mobile platform that can travel between star systems while supporting a crew of hundreds. How is that possible? President Washington asked. We're using a combination of fusion power, quantum field manipulation, and something we're calling creative physics. Our computers say it shouldn't work, but our tests show it will. Creative physics? We're basically ignoring the parts of physics that tell us something is impossible and focusing on the parts that tell us how to make it work anyway. It's the same approach that got us to the moon and built the Phoenix Dawn. President. Washington looked at the designs on her screen. The proposed space station was beautiful and functional, combining sleek lines with practical engineering. But more importantly, it represented something that no other species in the galaxy had ever achieved. How long to build it? She asked. Normally, a project like this would take 10 years minimum. But we're not thinking normally. We're thinking like humans who have 30 days to save their planet. How long? She repeated. Dr. Foster grinned. 3 weeks. If we can get the materials and enough people working on it. You'll have whatever you need, President Washington promised. This is humanity's chance to show the galaxy what we're capable of. Dr. Velnoth was having the worst 3 weeks of his long scientific career. Every day brought new reports of impossible human achievements that made his 4 eyes hurt just thinking about them. He stood in the Galactic Council's observation center, staring at displays that showed human activity across their solar system. This cannot be correct, he muttered. Checking his instruments for the 100th time that day, President Zaraketh floated beside him, her blue skin glowing with concern. What are you seeing now, Doctor? The humans have launched 47 new spacecraft in the past 2 weeks, Dr. Velnoth reported. But that should be impossible. Our analysis showed they had maybe 12 ships total before this crisis began. Perhaps. They had more ships hidden somewhere? No, Madam President. We can see their construction sites. They are building these ships from scratch using industrial facilities that were manufacturing ground vehicles last month. They have converted their entire planetary economy to spacecraft production in less than 3 weeks. General Vexvior stomped into the observation center, his heavy footsteps echoing off the crystal walls. Doctor, what is the status of their military preparations? Dr. Velnoth checked another display. That is the strange part, General. They appear to have no military preparations at all. Every ship they are building is designed for exploration, research, or construction. Not one weapon system has been detected. That makes no sense, the general growled. They know we have threatened their planet? Why are they not preparing for war? Because they are not thinking like we think, said Ambassador Kellyon, entering the center with several data tablets in his hands. I have been studying human communications for the past 3 weeks. Their approach to this crisis is unlike anything we have seen before. President Zaraketh turned to face the ambassador. Explain. Every other species we have evaluated has responded to our tests with either submission or aggression. They either beg for our approval or threaten us with their weapons. The humans are doing neither. Then what are they doing? Asked General Thex-VO, our Ambassador Kellyon activated a holographic display showing Earth. They are completely ignoring our evaluation. Instead of trying to prove they deserve our approval, they are simply demonstrating what their species can accomplish. Dr. Velnoth pointed to one of his screens. Look at this. They have built a mobile space station that is larger than some of our permanent installations. According to our scans, it should not be able to move, yet their test flights show it traveling. Faster than most of our ships. How is that possible? President Zaraketh asked. They are using what they call creative physics, the doctor replied. They identify what they want to accomplish, then figure out how to make it work regardless of theoretical limitations. On Earth, Dr. Carl Foster was explaining exactly that concept to a gathering of alien observers who had been monitoring human broadcasts. President Washington had decided that if the Galactic Council wanted to evaluate humanity, they should see everything. The difference between human science and galactic science, Dr. Foster said, standing in front of a holographic display of the new space station, is that you focus on what should be possible. We focus on what needs to be possible. The broadcast was being transmitted directly to the Galactic Council station, where dozens of alien scientists watched in fascination and horror. Take our new propulsion system, Dr. Foster continued. Your computers probably tell you it violates several fundamental laws of physics. You're right, it does. But it also works perfectly, and that's what matters to us. He activated a demonstration showing the massive space station moving through space at impossible speeds. We call this the Unity Station. It was built by engineers from 57 different countries working together. Every major corporation on Earth contributed materials or expertise. Every university sent their best students to help with construction. Dr. Velnoth felt his headache getting worse. How did they coordinate such a massive project? Our models show that a species with their level of development should be incapable of global cooperation on this scale. Ambassador Kellyan consulted. His data tablets. They appear to have temporarily suspended most of their international conflicts for this project. Countries that have been enemies for centuries are working together, temporarily suspended their conflicts. President Zaraketh looked confused. Is that possible? Apparently it is for humans, the ambassador replied. They seem to have a unique ability to unite against external threats while maintaining their individual identities and freedoms. The broadcast from Earth continued with Dr. Foster introducing other human achievements. Our new ships combine technologies that were developed independently by different nations. The Chinese contributed advanced electronics. The Germans provided precision manufacturing techniques. The Americans developed new engine designs. The result is spacecraft that are more advanced than anything any single nation could have built alone. General Vexvoar watched the display with growing unease. These ships are not designed for conquest or defense. What is their purpose? That's what concerns me, said Dr. Velnoth. Every ship appears to be designed for a different function. Some are clearly research vessels. Others are obviously meant for construction work. Several appear to be mobile factories. It's as if they are building an entire civilization in space. In 3 weeks? President Zaraketh asked. In 3 weeks. The doctor confirmed that the most impressive demonstration came when Captain Betty Rogers appeared on the broadcast. She was standing on the bridge of a ship that looked like nothing the Galactic Council had ever seen. It appeared to be built around a massive particle accelerator with living quarters attached like an afterthought. This is the research vessel. New Horizon, Captain Rogers announced. We've taken a particle physics laboratory and made it mobile. Our mission is to study the fundamental forces of the universe while traveling between star systems. Dr. Velnoth stared at the screen in disbelief. They built a mobile research laboratory? Why? Because they could, Ambassador Kellyan replied. Look at their reasoning. They decided that if they were going to join galactic civilization, they wanted to contribute something unique. So they built ships that can conduct advanced scientific research while traveling through space. Another ship appeared on the broadcast. Commanded by Admiral Sue Kelly, her vessel looked like someone had taken 3 different spacecraft designs and welded them together around what appeared to be a miniature star. The engineering ship Prometheus is designed for large-scale construction projects, Admiral Kelly explained. We can build space stations, repair damaged ships, or even terraform uninhabitable planets. The power source is a controlled fusion reaction that we've managed to stabilize, using magnetic fields. A controlled fusion reaction? Dr. Velnoth's voice cracked. How did they learn to do that? Trial and error, Admiral Kelly said cheerfully. We lost 6 unmanned test ships before we figured out the right magnetic field configuration. But now it works perfectly, the alien scientist felt faint. They learned to control fusion reactions through trial and error. In 3 weeks? Humans appear to have a very high tolerance for failure, Ambassador Kellyan observed. They treat each failure as a learning experience rather than a reason to stop trying. The broadcast continued with Commander Rick Stone showing off a ship that defied all conventional design principles. It looked like a giant crystalline structure powered by what appeared to be a miniature black hole. The exploration vessel Pathfinder uses exotic matter propulsion, Commander Stone explained. We can travel between galaxies if necessary. The power source is a micro black hole that we've learned to control using gravitational field manipulation. Micro black hole? General Vexvoar roared. They're experimenting with black holes? Successfully, it appears, Dr. Velnoth said weakly. All our instruments show their system is completely stable. How did they learn to control black holes? Commander Stone answered as if he had heard the question. Took us about 2 weeks to figure out the math. We had some help from theoretical physicists around the world. The trick is maintaining the gravitational field at exactly the right frequency. President Zaraketh turned to her advisors. In 3 weeks, this species has mastered fusion power, black hole manipulation, and faster-than-light travel using principles that our scientists say are impossible. How is this happening? They're not following our scientific method, Dr. Velnoth replied. We spend decades studying theories before attempting practical applications. They start with practical goals and figure out the theories afterward. The final demonstration was the most impressive of all. Dr. Foster reappeared on the broadcast, but this time he was standing in the central hub of the Unity Station with representatives from every nation on Earth. Members of the Galactic Council, he said, looking directly into the camera, we understand that you're evaluating whether humanity deserves a place in your civilization. We want you to know that we appreciate your standards and your desire to maintain peace. He gestured to the people around him. But we also want you to understand something important about our species. We don't wait for permission to do what needs to be done. We don't ask if something is possible before we try to build it. The 30-day deadline came and went without any official response from the Galactic Council. General XVOR had been ordered to prepare for military action against Earth, but when the day arrived, he found himself facing an impossible situation. Admiral Martinez, came a calm voice over the Dracorian fleet's communication system. This is Commander Jake Martinez of the Phoenix Dawn. We understand you folks have some concerns about humanity joining the galactic community. We'd like to address those concerns. General XVOR looked at his tactical display in confusion. His fleet of 37 warships was completely surrounded by human vessels that had appeared without warning. Somehow, 17 human ships had moved into position around his fleet without being detected by his advanced sensors. How did they get so close? He demanded from his tactical officer. Unknown, General. Our sensors show they materialize from empty space. Their stealth technology appears to be more advanced than ours. The General activated his communication system. Human vessels, you are interfering with official Galactic Council business. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. General, the XVOR, replied a female voice from one of the human ships. This is Captain Betty Rogers of the New Horizon. With all due respect, sir, threatening to destroy our planet falls under our definition of hostile action. We're not interfering with your business. We're protecting our home. The General looked at his weapons display. Every time his gunners tried to target a human ship, the targeting system malfunctioned. Why can't we lock weapons on their vessels? They appear to be using some form of quantum interference field, his weapons officer reported. Our targeting computers cannot maintain a stable lock. Then fire manually. Sir, if we fire without computer guidance, we're just as likely to hit our own ships as theirs. They're positioned too close to our formation. On the bridge of the Phoenix Dawn, Jake Martinez was trying very hard not to smile. The human fleet had spent the past week practicing this exact maneuver. While the aliens had been debating humanity's fate, the humans had been learning everything they could about Dracorian military tactics. Danny, how are our quantum scramblers working? Jake asked his engineer. Perfect, Danny Rodriguez replied. Their targeting systems can't get a lock on anything. We could fly circles around them all day. Lucy, what's the status of the other fleets? Lucy Chun checked her display. Admiral Kelly's group has the Centauri Defense Force surrounded near Vega. Captain Stone's ships are keeping an eye on the Ciarian patrol near Alpha Centauri. Captain Rogers has the Altarian research vessels covered. Jake activated the fleet communication channel. All human vessels, this is Admiral Martinez. Remember, we're not here to start a fight. We're here to have a conversation. Back on the Galactic Council station, President Zaraketh was receiving reports that made her question everything she thought she knew about warfare. In the space of 1 hour, human fleets had surrounded every major Galactic Council military formation in known space. How many human ships are there? She asked Dr. Velnoth. We count at least 60 vessels spread across 12 star systems, the scientist replied. But our sensors keep detecting new ones. They seem to appear and disappear at will. Ambassador Kelyan entered the command center carrying an urgent message tablet. Madam President, we have received a formal communication from Earth. What do they say? They are requesting an immediate meeting of the full Galactic Council. They want to discuss the terms of galactic cooperation. President Zaraketh felt a headache coming on. They want to discuss terms? We're the ones who were supposed to be evaluating them. Apparently they have finished evaluating us. The ambassador replied 6 hours later. The great assembly hall of the Galactic Council was filled with representatives from all 47 member species. But for the first time in 3,000 years, they were not the ones calling the meeting. Admiral Jake Martinez walked into the hall wearing a simple blue uniform with no decorations, except a small American flag patch on his shoulder. Behind him came Dr. Carl Foster, Captain Betty Rogers, and 6 other humans representing different nations and specialties. President Zaraketh looked down at the human delegation from her floating platform. Admiral Martinez, the Galactic Council, recognizes your request to address this assembly. Jake stepped forward and looked around at the dozens of alien species gathered in the hall. Thank you, Madam President. I want to start by saying that humanity appreciates everything the Galactic Council has accomplished. 3,000 years of peace is an impressive achievement. Murmurs of approval rippled through the assembly. However, Jake continued, we have some concerns about how this council operates. The murmurs stopped. For example, Dr. Foster said, stepping forward, we noticed that in 3,000 years your technology has barely advanced. Your ships today are essentially the same as they were 1,000 years ago. Our technology is perfected, interrupted Dr. Velnoth. We see no need for constant change. That's exactly the problem, Captain Rogers replied. Perfection is the enemy of progress. When you stop trying to improve, you stop growing. General Vexvoar stood up on his platform. Your crude technology is hardly an improvement over our refined systems. Is it? Asked Commander Rick Stone, activating a holographic display. Our crude ships just surrounded your entire military without being detected. Our primitive computers just shut down your targeting systems. Our impossible engines can travel between galaxies. The assembly hall fell silent. Jake looked around at the alien representatives. The truth is we've been watching you for the past month, just like you've been watching us. And we've identified several problems with your galactic civilization. Problems? President Zaraketh asked. First, you've become stagnant, Dr. Foster said. In 3,000 years, you've had peace, but you haven't had progress. Your societies have stopped growing, stopped learning, stopped pushing boundaries. Second, you've become exclusive, Captain Rogers added. 47 species in an entire galaxy? We found evidence of at least 200 intelligent species that you've never even contacted because they didn't meet your standards. Third, you've become predictable, Commander Stone said. Every one of your member species thinks exactly the same way. You've created conformity, not diversity. Ambassador Kelyan leaned forward. And what do you propose to do about these supposed problems? Jake smiled. We're going to fix them. You're going to fix galactic civilization? General Vexvoar laughed. You've been in space for less than 2 centuries. General, 3 weeks ago, we didn't know galactic civilization existed, Jake replied. Today, we've got ships in 12 different star systems and technology that your scientists say is impossible. Don't underestimate what humans can accomplish when we set our minds to something. Dr. Foster activated another holographic display. We've already started contacting some of those species you've been ignoring. The Andromedans are very interested in joining a more inclusive galactic community. So are the Tausetians and the Wolf 359 colonists. You contacted other species without permission? President Zaraketh was shocked. We don't need permission to make friends, Captain Rogers said. That's kind of the point we're trying to make here. Jake stepped forward again. Here's what's going to happen. Humanity is joining galactic civilization whether you approve or not. We're going to start trading with other species, sharing technology, and generally making ourselves at home. You can't just declare yourself members of the Galactic Council. General HFY protested. We're not joining your council, Dr. Foster replied. We're starting our own organization, the Galactic Cooperative. Any species that wants to participate is welcome. And what makes you think other species will join this cooperative instead of remaining with us? Ambassador Kellyan asked. Commander. Stone smiled. Because we're offering something you can't. Progress, growth, the chance to try new things and push boundaries. Plus, we've got better ships, Captain Rogers added cheerfully. President Zaraketh looked around at her fellow council members. Many of them were talking quietly among themselves. She could see the uncertainty in their faces. What do you want from us? She asked. Jake considered the question carefully. Honestly, we want you to join us. The Galactic Council has done good work for 3,000 years, but it's time to try something new. You want the Galactic Council to join humanity's organization? We want everyone to work together, Dr. Foster said. Humans, council species, and all the species you've been ignoring. One big cooperative where everyone contributes what they do best. And if we refuse? Jake shrugged. Then you continue doing what you've been doing for 3,000 years, and we go off and do our own thing. But I think you'll find that our way is more fun. Ambassador Kellyan stood up. Admiral Martinez, the Altarian delegation, would like to formally request membership in this galactic cooperative. Shocked murmurs filled the assembly hall. Ambassador, what are you doing? President Zaraketh demanded. Joining the future, Kellyan replied. These humans have accomplished more in 30 days than we have in 30 years. I want to see what they do next. One by one, other delegations began standing. The Tausetians requested membership. The Andromedans sent a formal application via subspace radio.